What's up, guys? It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah. We're back. Back in action.
We are back. I missed you guys.
Good to be back. Good.
It's all
Do
part
you
of the
hear
show.
these dogs
I
back here?
can.
Okay.
Are they having a good
They need
time?
their own microphones.
don't
You
even
got to mic them up.
That's right. I'm gonna get Lily a lapel mic so she
Well,
can.
that is the perfect segue into the piece of gear that I have this week, because you could literally mic your dogs up with it.
Nice.
Today I
Yes.
have the latest release
The
from our friends at
Rode.
Rode, and we've talked about a couple times that wireless is definitely not the way to go for podcasting. That said, I was talking to someone. I was talking to someone this weekend, and they wanted lavalier microphones because they were going to do some video work, and they wanted to plug it into Rodecaster. And I was like, yeah, you could go with like more traditional wireless stuff, but this just came out, and I just did a little reading on it, and this is wildly cool. So there's the Rode Wireless Go 2, which just came out. 2-channel version of their extremely popular Wireless Go. It's $299, which is really cheap for wireless, especially one that's super compact.
But it's two wireless systems in one. Like you have two
these
microphones.
are the microphones.
So that's an amazing price.
For amazing. The next closest dual wireless, that's like for real, has got to be like $500. That's
So wait, how much?
$299.
$299.
So
okay.
it's got mics built onto it, onto each of these transmitters. But you can also plug in a lavalier microphone, like Rode makes what do they call it? The Smart Lav, little like $80 plug it in kind of lavalier. You can plug in other signals into these. You can plug these into your phones to like record audio into something else. So these are really cool. Can be rechargeable batteries.
So wait, those little boxes themselves are microphones?
Got a mic built onto the top.
Or you can plug one in.
Or you can plug one in. So you can clip it right to your shirt. And now you're wearing a microphone. Pretty cool.
Super subtle.
Super subtle.
Well, you can flip it inside so the clip. Yeah, there you go.
So
more
subtle.
There's a clip there, but yeah,
slightly more subtle. Or you could wear the goofy windscreen that it comes with.
That's only if you're outside.
Look how big that thing
Little fuzzy guy.
It works though, man. It's worth it.
If
you're outside.
This is I'm gonna turn it on. I don't turn this thing on. This is the receiver, and the receiver is super badass because it has 24 hours of recording, it itself can multi-track record.
So there's no SD card or anything
built in.
Stick in it. Okay.
24 hours of recording, multi-track, and that's uncompressed audio. So you can compress the audio and get like 40 hours of recording, which just seems crazy.
First of all, what the hell are you talking about for 40 hours?
Yeah, what are you doing for 40 hours? But you can. Just because you can. And so it can multi-track record, or it can smash them together and record the audio together. So you could come out of this with an 1/8-inch cable into two separate, it'll treat each channel as like left and right, or channel 1 and channel 2. So you could plug this receiver into your Rodecaster, into mic inputs 1 and 2, have two people right there, wireless, be recording in here, and be plugging it out into your Rodecaster and recording it and doing all the other cool things you want to do with a Rodecaster. You can also plug it right into your camera. It can also just do the recording, and you can smash it together later. So it's super cool, and it can record directly into a computer too. So you could be I could be on if I had nothing else but this, I could plug this into my computer, USB, and be wireless USB. And the reason this is like a good wireless microphone is because it's also digital. So without getting too fancy about it, you're basically just getting like pristine audio quality with very little chances for interference from like radio stations and other stuff like that, because it's like Wi-Fi. It's like a direct connection to the receiver. Super clean, really smart design, can work with iOS. You can plug it straight into your phone. If you were going to record like you were going to roll around to like a conference or something like that, and you wanted to mic someone up or mic yourself up, just plug this into your phone and wear the other one and give one to someone else. Super functional.
Wait. So you need only one receiver to run 2 mics?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so I definitely need that.
Bingo.
So,
Yeah,
in the robbery, not only did they steal my peace of mind, but they also stole my Shure MD88, which is killing me because I wanted to do some, mobile recordings in Costa Rica, like interviewing different people and different things happening and whatever, and I can't do that now. But this seems like a really great. You could plug that into a Zoom H5 or H6 then,
You
right?
could plug it into any of those.
Absolutely.
And you could make it easy and go just one channel in and just record it and just use it, or you could split it out and have a cable that goes like, that goes 1/8 inch to 2 XLRs and split it and put one in each input, so you can actually literally multi-track a chord from a wireless, which is, like I said, like to do that, there are cheaper ways to do it, I guess, but you also get cheap quality. This is good stuff and super easy. Like there's no like pairing, like it comes out of the box ready to go, comes with all these cables to charge it up, all these USB-Cs to USBs, comes with a little 1/8 inch jobby do to plug it into your...
Is that the technical term?
Yeah,
for
jobby
that?
do. That's what we call it in the industry.
Doohickey.
Little pouch. So I'm pretty jacked up about
Which
this.
you could also keep your weed in. You know what I'm saying? If you need
little wireless system, little weed. Whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do to get it done.
I've got to say, I'm super excited about that too, which is pretty interesting because I don't usually get too excited about wireless stuff anymore since I don't do any more stage stuff.
Yeah.
But I am starting to do more video stuff, especially for my wife's business. But potentially I could do some client work for video stuff too, especially now that I got my camera set up all dialed in. And I typically will avoid Rode products just because of in the past I have had reliability problems
with their wireless,
and that's just like
general?
reliability, anything of theirs. Like I just don't, and they really have stepped up their game. Like this past probably 3-4 years, like the Rodecaster Pro definitely is a whole other level.
Ever since then, it's been like a different company.
But this product is probably the first one I'm actually going to buy from Rode. And it's because it is head and shoulders better than anything else out there. Not even just at the price range, but in that form factor, period.
There's nothing like it.
No, and I watched a YouTube review of it by Curtis Judd, who I like to think is a friend of mine, but we've just interacted on Twitter a little bit. Maybe we'll be after this. But he has a killer YouTube channel for video, and he talks about audio a lot too, audio for video. And a lot of it ends up applying to podcasters. So there's a lot of crossover, with what he talks about. He does a great job. But his review of this is fantastic. He even goes as far as to show the noise floor of it, which is way quieter than the other ones. He compares the 2 other systems that are more professional by other brands. I can't even remember what brands they are. He tests it with external mics, all that stuff. So we can put a link to that in the show notes. It's a fantastic review. Until Adam gets his done, of course.
Wait for it. I'm gonna use it right now.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I feel like we should be using this thing.
It comes charged, everybody. It comes charged.
Nice.
It comes charged.
Just like you, Adam.
Fired up. Ready to go. Mute.
It's just a very impressive product.
Hello.
And wait, does this mean we don't have to listen to your headset anymore? Is that what I'm?
Hello. Can you hear me? Does that sound weird?
Oh, we can hear you.
Tap on it.
That's this.
Yeah, that's it.
Tap.
All right.
Tap.
Mm-hmm. Does that sound strange?
It's a little far. Can you turn up the gain
Yeah.
on that, Javi?
And this is the typical lavalier situation. It sounds great when you stick it right in front of your mouth.
Lavalier experience.
Like any microphone.
Lavalier.
Yeah, I had a client do some recordings. Lily, stop.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what's going. Lily and Sam have been going at it all day. I had to like pull Lily off of Sam. I'm like, let's not forget that you have 4 teeth, Lily, and Sam outweighs you by like 40 pounds. And then I yelled at Lily, and then Sam cowered in the other room, and I'm like, no,
Oh,
Sam.
Sam. That's how my dogs were too. I'd yell at Lola, and then Lewis would cower. I'm like, no, you're
I'm like,
doing good,
no,
buddy.
you're the good one. She's the bad one. She's such a little scrapper.
I'm live.
Yeah,
live.
it's a little low.
A little low.
Yeah.
Crank it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Check. Low. Live.
That's better. That's better.
Is it?
Is it better?
It is
Yes,
better. Oh
that
my
is better.
God. Adam, you got to start using this from
This
now
is
on.
cool.
This is so much better than your headset.
Well, maybe I will use it more. That was easy. Just plugged it in.
Wait till the phone rings out. It's going to be like,
the
blah, blah,
screen
blah,
is
blah,
beautiful
like really
too. You can't see the screen, but like it is clean. It tells you
Dude,
everything.
I got to get a set of these. Are they available? Can I
In stock,
I have a friend.
available, ready to
Uh-huh.
rock.
Dude,
All right.
perfect. Sign me
Let's
up.
do it.
Put me in, coach. I got a friend coming to visit me soon.
Perfect.
And so I can just have her bring it with her. Because if not, it'll get held up in Costa Rican customs forever.
Perfect.
The trade-offs of living abroad.
Yeah. Indeed. Can you ship to Costa Rica, Adam? Have you
Figure it
ever
out.
tried? Is that a
We'll
thing?
Ship all over the place. We'll figure it out.
It's probably like some crazy high import tax, though.
I do actually prefer the headset sound to the lav, but it's just because the headset is closer. If that lav, if you could hold it or clip it up next to your mouth. If you had a
God,
beard, you
that
could
was
clip it onto your
painful.
beard.
But how's it
You know what would
sound
be
now?
cool actually is if you wore a hat and
You
clip
could
it
do
on the
that.
tip of your hat. That would sound fantastic.
Much better.
Better. The closer
Sam,
together. And that's not.
Yeah.
we don't.
That's. I can't.
Oh, flip it back out. It's
Better. That
like
way.
that. Well, now it's facing down, but it was when it was sticking straight out as opposed to up against your
I'll
shirt.
just hold it right here.
I mean, that sounds
Put
fantastic.
this on a little
That
stand.
doesn't,
You could probably put it
that
like
doesn't
right
seem
here.
very sustainable.
This is. I could put this like right here, and it would probably be
No, you need to be closer.
pretty good.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it sounds really good.
Very few things
Like,
are
that's the
plug
other
and
thing.
play, especially in the world of wireless. And this was turn it on, plugged it in, and played it.
You
mean,
had
you
never
literally
pulled it out of that box.
Took it
before?
out of the box.
Literally
Yeah.
just took it out of the box. Hadn't even touched
That's
anything
That's
yet.
amazing.
But I'm most jacked up that it can record into the receiver, multi-track on its own. Done.
Oh,
So
wait,
were you aware of this? It actually can also record a backup
Yes.
recording on the transmitter on the actual little microphone clip thing.
Safety recording.
So wait. So you don't even need an H6 or any audio
No.
interface.
Not unless you want the extra
What?
microphones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, maybe I should order like 4 of these and then resell them in Costa Rica.
We
Probably-
could get
probably
a good thing
could.
going on.
Just don't tell customs.
But
I mean, just kidding. Edit that out.
no, Rode did a good. Let's see. Rode did a good thing.
They do lots of good things.
Now
This
we
is
got the
the
windscreen
latest
on.
and greatest good thing.
Twist lock.
Try blowing on it. Now blow on it without the windscreen.
Awful.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus
Awful.
Christ.
See how much it makes a huge difference. It's crazy how those
Yeah.
the film industry calls those dead cats.
Yeah. Dead cats, dead kittens, dead wombats. Just different sizes.
On
Yeah,
behalf
yeah.
of kittens, what the hell,
I feel
man?
very strange whenever I sell them. But we have a
Dead
good
cats.
laugh.
Well, you know.
It's not really a dead cat, people.
But
it's okay.
Yeah. Or is
so
it?
to recap, two
Or is
channels.
it?
Digital wireless can record into itself, can plug into a phone, can plug
This
into
thing
a
is-
computer, can plug into a roadcaster.
This is the future.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is literally the future. Like this tiny little thing can just replaced an audio interface.
I mean, like other competitors that make similarly sized wireless things are way more, like portable ones are like $700, $800. Like they're very expensive to get at the smallest. 2 channels? I'm just realizing how astronomical this is. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's
what I'm
saying.
madness.
Game changer.
I mean, if I'm literally looking at my Line 6 like wireless mic setup. I brought like
chest,
one of them
the
here.
whole case.
And like, what an annoying thing to have to bring to another country. Straight up.
You just put one of these on your.
That was a lot of weight.
Doing a panel, one of these on, whoever's talking. You're done. You don't need to do anything. You could do the whole thing with a phone and this, and be set.
Yes.
Yeah, you really could. So
And Molly
anybody
will.
who's creating content, like if you're doing videos at all, if you want to do like video blogs, right, of any kind, like if you want to connect with your audience, if you want to like give more tips or information, but without being like in front of your computer every time, like you could set up an iPhone from, 10 feet away and plug these jobbies in and then send the files to Heartcast Media or Me Only Louder. And we would
Heartcast Media.
Tighten you
I don't
right
do
up.
video.
Yeah.
Stitch it together and get you going.
I'll do the video. I'll send the audio to Marcus.
There you go. I'll
That's
sweeten the
awesome.
audio up a little bit. Yeah.
But that's a big deal, right? Because and actually, one thing I wanted to ask you guys about tonight is I've kind of like bagged my whole course idea of like how to start a podcast and how to like conceptualize and strategize a branded podcast that'll like 10x your business.
Oh yeah.
Which is cool, but I'm just not excited about it. And so what I've decided to do is to aim a course at women about how to start a successful podcast company.
Yes.
Right.
Awesome.
And like do like a 8-module course or an 8-week mastermind where I literally like how to set up a cutie, how to build a web page that you can embed your link, how to set your offers, like, literally all of the things so that people can like jump into business when they're ready.
Yeah.
Because I see so many women in these groups, like just in Just Busters alone, it's like bad clients and invoicing, right? Like,
yeah.
And they also go hand in hand because the bad clients also never pay their invoice on time. And it's
Right.
like, listen, man, you can't afford to invoice. Who do you think you are? The Wall Street Journal? Like, you got to pay to play, man. People don't work with Heartcast Media unless they pay in advance. And that has saved me so much time. And it virtually eliminates bad clients, right?
Yeah.
Because a bad client who's trying to get over isn't going to pay you before you do the work. But a client who values you and understands that you're going to do a great job will have absolutely no problem paying you, in advance. So just things like this, right? So I was thinking about like flipping the course to do that and then just putting out more videos about this kind of stuff. And so I was envisioning myself, right? Like sitting in Costa Rica in my apartment with the greenery behind me. But I just don't always want to be in front of my computer. And that's kind of tricky. You know what I mean? Like setting up the Line 6 is a pain in the ass. It's just a pain in the ass, honestly. But this seems like a game changer. Like you could use an iPhone or like a better camera if you have one. And these 2 little things. And you could do all kinds of amazing content with those that you could turn into social media posts or a webinar marketing video or videos for your group, like for your members that are in whatever group you've set up. This just seems like a really nice way to create better content.
But even just doing like super high quality like Instagram lives and stuff like that, because you can't you can't do Instagram lives with my Fuji X-T4. You have to have
Look
an
at that
iPhone.
screen.
Can we do?
Look at that.
That's pretty sexy.
Look at that. Battery life, volume,
Yeah, the volume level,
clean.
which is important. It looks
Killing
good.
it.
But you could not.
And how long do the batteries last? I know Curtis said
7
in his
hours.
video.
Shut up.
That's right. And he said in his test it lasted like 6 hours and 47 minutes, so pretty much right at 7 hours.
I'm
So
calling bullshit. I'm just kidding. That's amazing because the batteries in a Line 6 lapel, like or lavalier like pack, will last like an hour.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Before you got to, and those are like AA batteries.
And this
Yep.
is rechargeable.
Yep,
I think Rode might have just won the week with that one.
I think
absolutely.
so. I'm
the
blown away.
YouTubers are flipping out about it, and it's well deserved.
I mean, it's a whole wireless system. That's it.
3 little
Madness.
boxes.
That's it right there. Just fit in your
You can
pocket.
put those in your pocket. You could keep them in your briefcase, your attaché, if you will, at all times. You could keep those in your purse.
That's wild.
Women got some big ass purses these days, so it's possible.
There's a million applications for this.
Like you want to catch an interview, or
Just throw this on.
You're like
Yeah.
at a podcast convention and you're like sitting in 2 chairs in a hallway in the hotel randomly, and you're just having a good conversation.
Yep.
And you want it to be that simple of just being able to sit back in a couple chairs and like shoot the shit without having like microphones and.
Yeah. So check it out. This actually reminds me of an issue, recording issue that happens that I've heard on one of the New York Times podcasts, on that Caliphate podcast that totally got debunked because that guy turned out, not to actually be a terrorist. Was lying about it the whole time. But the show was very well produced. But if you go back and listen to it, if it's still available, you can hear them with the shotgun mic like going back and forth, and it's like rustling sounds. If you have those 3 little boxes, you just clip one on one person's shirt, clip one on the other person's shirt. And part of the thing too is like you miss half of the discussion, like because they were trying to go back and forth, and so like the mic's on the other person's mouth and you don't catch it quick enough, they start to talk. This thing, you're covered, and you're recording multi-track.
And it's 2 channels,
so you can adjust the levels in post.
Dude,
that solves that problem for journalistic like interview and on the street.
And you can monitor on
type
it.
Candid
You
conversations.
can plug headphones into it and monitor.
Really? I didn't realize that.
God.
Curtis didn't mention that. So it has a headphone out and
It's one output, but I think you have gain control on it.
Well, it's probably a line level output, so you'd have to have some kind of a headphone amplifier. I don't think you could plug headphones straight into the line level output.
Is that a challenge?
Unless
I think it is.
same reason why you can't plug a microphone straight into a laptop. You need an amplifier.
Here we go, team. Brace for impact.
And a USB microphone that you plug straight into the laptop has an amplifier built into it. So just so you're aware. So for those who... Adam can't hear us now, so we can talk crap
Let's
about
talk a bunch of shit about him while we can.
Hello. Check. I can kind of hear myself.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
You'll hear a little bit. He can't hear us, though.
No, he can't hear us. No.
You'll hear a
There's
little
gotta be
bit.
some
It'll just be
nifty
really,
button
really
push
low.
here to do something.
It's not going to work, I tell you. But we'll let him figure it out. It's signal flow, Adam.
Check.
Gain structure.
Hello. Yeah, I can hear myself. Wow. I
But
can
it's
hear
probably
myself
really quiet.
pretty well too. That's cool.
Of course, he is wearing Ultimate ears that are really sensitive. So if you have like standard big can headphones, you probably won't be able to, because those require more.
I'm convinced you can make that
You might
work.
be able to hear it a little bit. You didn't hear any of the stuff that
Didn't
we
hear
were
you
talking
guys.
about.
No.
You can go back and watch the
I'll
replay.
Probably better
I'll
that
be the
way,
18th viewer of our podcast.
Seriously though. Oh man. Well, that's super. I'm definitely buying a
Good
set
job,
of those
Rode.
from you for sure.
Good job.
Good job.
Well done.
I feel like that's the end of our podcast, folks. You heard it here.
That's
By
all you
Rode.
need to know. That's it. That's what's happening in
How do you say-
podcasting this week.
Is it really road though? Because it has that little like squiggly line and the O, or is it like road?
They're Australians.
Like, are we saying it the right way?
They don't.
Oh,
I don't even know how to
Raid.
pronounce that vowel.
raid.
Raid.
They're just.
Might.
Why do they give you a third one though?
I watched some random show on Netflix
Case you
with like
lose one?
Australians in it. So now Netflix serves me all this like Aussie content, and like I love Australian people, but that has got to be the ugliest accent. It's like
I am
it's
with
like
you.
trailer
I am not a
trash
fan of the
English
Australian
accent. I'm
accent.
sorry,
Sorry, people.
Australians.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
My sister
I
lives
love
Just one
Australian
show?
people. I don't like the accent so much.
Wait, I can't hear you, Marcus.
Can you hear me?
What is that noise? Oh, it's the phone.
It's a telephone.
Let's.
Did you turn the lavalier mics off?
I unplugged them from the cast. From the caster.
Oh, from the caster. You're so fancy.
That's what the peeps call it.
Well, that brings up something I just tweeted today. People calling podcasts pod. Thanks for listening to the pod. What is you guys' feelings on that?
You know,
people like to shorten things. You know, like I have friends that call the pandemic the pan, or the panny. I lived in California, and they say things like, "Don't be bullige, whatever."
Yeah, I can see that. It's still obnoxious, though, right?
you're showing your
To a
age.
degree. I don't know.
Yeah,
I am, but
I think you're verging on to get off of my lawn with that one. But
I'm not alone, though. But I am old. I know that there are a lot of really old people out there.
It's a different. It becomes a different language at a certain point.
But like to me, pod is it's just such a goofy word, I guess, because like I think of a pod of dolphins or like a space pod.
It all started from
2001 or
you can't.
Right.
It's the root.
But,
it's the root of the cast.
But a pod.
The root of the cast.
Well,
is pod.
see,
podcast.
But what it actually is a cast. If I was
Or
to
is
short
it a
I would call
pod?
it a cast. No, it's not a pod because a pod is what you listen to it on.
or is it a odd
cast? Thanks for listening to my cast. That sounds a little better to me, personally.
That sounds like thanks for signing my cast, which reminds me of 4th grade when I broke my leg.
Sorry, bringing up childhood trauma for you.
My dog is making like the crazy. She's just over here making these little like
If you had-
chipmunks.
Do you not
you
feed
had
her
this,
or
you
something,
could,
or
you
is
could
she
be micing up your
Just
dog and you
kidding.
could be really critically listening to the sounds of dogs.
Like, what is that?
What does that mean?
It sounds.
I
like,
did have to edit out a dog snoring from a podcast.
And
last
how
week,
how did you do that? How did you achieve success in that endeavor?
lots of cuts and fades. I did use a little bit of RX8's dialogue isolate, but it can really affect the tonality of the person's voice. She was, of course, too far away from her microphone, and it was a condenser, so it picked up everything in the room. I know, right? But I didn't get all of it out, but I got enough of it out to where while like it's not distracting to where when she stops saying a word, you hear. I mean, it was literally that loud.
Sam,
I love dogs,
see it today.
but they don't belong on podcasts unless it's their own podcast. You know.
I think next
I'd
week.
listen to a all dog podcast.
Dogcast.
You know, in one of those Facebook, okay, Peanut Gallery, from one of the Facebook groups, somebody was like, "Hey, I just changed all my titles and it's not updating and whatever." And he's like, "For example, I just changed the episode name to Pet Sounds from 1965," and I just thought that was so funny. I don't know why. Like, did pets sound different in 1965? Like, why are you like dogs sounded more trusting or more liberated in 1965? Sam, go sit down.
Is that the Beach Boys reference? The Beach Boys album reference?
Oh, maybe. Oh, you know what? I bet it was. You're so smart, Marcus. I was like, why does this guy have Pet Sounds from 1965? I don't get it. But that makes a lot more sense. Thank you for the clarification. It's probably why he laughed at me.
It was analog back then, so it would have sounded different for sure if
Yes.
you recorded a dog in 1965 as opposed to 2021.
So what else is happening
very
in podcast town? What else is happening in the world of podcasting?
I don't know. I don't know this week.
Not a whole lot.
I saw
got
that
nothing.
podcasting is now, or they say it's going to be a billion dollar industry this year.
They just keep throwing out big numbers.
They do.
It's like we all know it's going to be huge. Okay, we get it.
With a B.
Does it matter if it's 1 billion, 2 billion?
It's arbitrary at that
You know,
point.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, Libsyn just released their new UX.
They did finally. They've been talking about it for like a long time.
Did you check it out?
They've been talking about it so long that they need a new UX to replace the UX that they've been talking about replacing the old UX with. So instead of looking like 1992, it's more like 1998. I'm just kidding. I haven't looked at
Log
it.
into my client's Libsyn right now.
They're doing like a bunch of like Q&As and like training sessions on it, and I'm like, well, that's not great. But whatever. Maybe I just like to talk shit about Libsyn, let's be honest. But you know, it just kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, if you have to do 3 training sessions on how to use your new platform, like it might not be simple enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like it's just an RSS feed. It's not that serious, man. Like what could be so hard about this? Like you upload.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is like their current UI, which I'm looking at right now, Libsyn 4. I don't know if you have to opt in for the new one or something, or
and maybe
I know
they
had
actually...
they had like a beta tester type thing you had to sign up for, and I didn't want to do that for my clients because I didn't want them wigging out when they logged in to see their stats and stuff. But yeah, it's long overdue because they definitely have fallen behind in that department, and UI is very, very important. Like you said, you know, it shouldn't be hard to just upload a file, an MP3 file, and enter a title and description. And it is like, in Libsyn 4. It's very difficult in Libsyn 4.
Which, you know, is crazy. And like, I don't know. It's just interesting to me because like I know on the back end, it's not quite that simple, right? Like there's definitely more going on the back end, but you know, what the user is seeing, it should not be this complicated at all.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Everybody's jumping in the podcast game. You know, the Podcast Business Journal like just announced that like so and so is creating a daily podcast, and the TV station, who is it? Coin TV in Portland, the first daily podcast featuring a quick look at the 6 things locals need to know before they head out each day.
Ooh.
So
that's a local.
It's a local thing. And then, you know, mayoral candidates, political people are starting to use podcasts, which, you know, I've been saying that for a minute, man. I had some local politicians in DC approach me, and I thought it was so smart. Like, pull back the curtain, man. I want to hear how you talk. I want to hear how you think. I want to know what your jokes are. Like, I want to see how awkward you are. I want to see how truthful you are. And I feel like a podcast is a great way to get that done, which is probably why politicians aren't doing it, honestly.
Right.
Just saying.
Plus, it's a lot of work to produce podcasts, so.
It is a lot of work.
But they can hire people for that, like Heartcast Media.
The IAB, though, you know, the IAB is the one saying, you know, $1 billion market, but like, can we trust the IAB? I don't know.
Is that supposed to be like $1 billion in ads spend? Like what's $1 billion?
Right. So the organization had 33.2 million of revenue in 2020. 6.4 is from the IAB Tech Lab, who work on the podcast measurement standards. Wait, what? Man. Spanish podcasts are on the rise, which I'm all for.
Absolutely.
We need more content in Spanish.
Don't more people... No, most people in the world speak probably Chinese, right? Of some sort.
That's a good question.
But Spanish, I know there's more Spanish speakers than English speakers in the world. I know that for sure. Just because there's so many countries that speak Spanish.
Yeah. Different versions of Spanish, but Spanish nonetheless.
Exactly. Well, there's different versions of English too. Australian.
Fucking Rob Greenlee, that bastard. No offense if you're listening, Rob. He's not listening. Let's be honest. He just put out an article explaining how to connect and record on Clubhouse, just like we did last week on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I wonder if he heard our podcast.
Maybe. No. I mean, that's what everybody's talking about. He spends a lot of time on Clubhouse. I've seen him on there a lot.
Yeah.
But I still feel like there's some stuff that we could explain a little differently than how he did it. And, you know, it's just because he did it doesn't mean that we can't do ours too. So.
Indeed. And he sent all Amazon links, so he's probably getting paid on the back end. Not mad at that either, but, you know.
Just the affiliate. He'll get 3 cents if you buy a $60 microphone.
Is it that high? Honestly.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
What a mess. Yeah, I don't know.
Was the topic from a couple weeks ago, was it the nominees?
Yes,
for the ambies.
that's what it was. The nambies, is that what they called it?
Ambies.
Oh, the
like
ambies.
ambient. Yeah, ambies.
Yeah, and that guy went super ham on it.
Right.
And
It's been a couple weeks, so I can't even remember.
Yeah, so this guy wrote an article about it, and so what it reminded me of is, do you ever get the emails from Fast Company? Right?
I
And
do
Fast,
not, but
okay.
I am
well,
familiar.
Consider yourself
Yeah.
lucky. I've unsubscribed like 7 fucking times. Somehow, it's like Spotify. I'm like, how could you still be sending me emails? But they basically are like, hey, you should be considered for like the fastest growing women-owned business award, and you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then you click on it, and they're like, it's only $350 to enter, and you're like,
Right.
what?
Yeah.
Wait. What? And so what happened
It's
is
just a
the
money-making
ambies
scheme.
were similar. It was 100 and some odd or whatever. I don't want to misquote it because that's my jam, but it was a dollar amount in order to even be considered for that. And
Yeah.
they nominated
Registration fees.
Right. And they nominated people like the Wall Street Journal and like NPR or like, these huge companies that are like they're backed, or like these podcasts that are backed by these huge companies. So they're not like exactly independent. And then it just sort of crushes it. And then a bunch of the stuff that was nominated has like board members from Libsyn involved, who is also part of that, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just very murky, and it just sort of makes you wonder, I don't know, man. I guess everything kind of gets co-opted, but we see that a lot in like the DC music scene, where it's like, hey, we're going to send a bunch of bands to Austin and here's our nominees. And it's like, who the hell are these bands? Like,
they'll have the same
never heard
management
of them.
company or booking agent or whatever. Yeah.
It's like somebody's cousin's accountant is, plays in a band on the weekends. And like the biggest like WeDC presentation we had like Method Man and like Mary J. Blige or something. I don't know. Something ridiculous. But I'm like, they're not from DC. Like, what the hell does that have to do with DC? And so anytime you have people, and like BYT used to do it, and like there's another organization, and it's like, it's just suspect because it's like pay to play, and then who's nominating these people, and then who's picking the winners, and it just all feels like a bunch of nepotism. And I feel like that's probably just how it is with a lot of these type of competitions in general, right? Like,
yeah, all of them.
But I can definitely see it being discouraging for independent, podcasters who like put $100 or whatever it was into the till, and they lost out to NPR. Like, of course you lost to NPR,
Yep. Yeah, it's all publicity related stuff. It's all just opportunities for the people that make the money, the people that are actually making that $1 billion, the big companies, to be able to build their empires bigger and bigger. And so it's like, and it's the same thing with the Grammys. It's the same thing with the Oscars.
Right.
Like I remember the crappy Christian version of the Grammys called the Dove Awards. It's really big here in Nashville, and that's actually how I got my start as a sound guy. Is I volunteered to be a stage hand because they got showcases all over town during the week and stuff like that. But anyway, the record labels actually send memos out to the staff of these corporations that are members of the whatever academy or whatever it is, telling them what to vote for. So it is not legitimate at all. And I guarantee you that a lot of that stuff goes on in the film industry too. I don't know I don't work in the film industry, so I don't know that, but it's all publicity. It's not about celebrating the actual craft of podcasting and celebrating the creators. It's about having an opportunity for people to have something to brag about so that they can make more money off of it. And I do feel like there are people involved where they think that it can be a way to celebrate and to try to bring up diversity and all that stuff. But inevitably, when there's awards involved, and especially when there's a pay to get in, a pay at the door thing, it's not going to be, there's not going to be any equity in it for all of podcasting. It's not going to be representative of the diversity of the world of podcasting. And it's the same thing with music and all the other creative industries.
Yeah, it makes me kind of like want to create something that's like a little bit more real, but it's just so much work.
It is. And that's why, they do charge fees. You have to charge fees because it is work. But, there's like, I wanted to submit one of my podcasts to the Third Coast Awards, and it was $250 per submission. And in order to win, I wanted to submit it to 4 categories. I didn't have $1,200 to pay to maybe win an award, And so and that's the Third Coast Awards, which is very specific to journalism. It's not even a broader podcasting award situation. So
I feel like I'm quiet because I'm thinking like how do you change it? Like obviously, these people have bigger ad budgets. Like they can put placement more places. Like they can ride on actual radio and drive YouTube podcasts and play their own podcast on the radio and get more exposure. Like I almost think like, and it's hard to market a podcast on social media. It just is, unless you're doing video, which has a different thing, but might not directly equate to downloads on a podcast. It's been an interesting year for I think the podcast format, just because like less driving, like less working out in gyms, like less opportunities to really dive in. Like people are consuming the content, but in different ways. I'm thinking like, does there need, and none of these apps, I don't think have done a good job of being, it almost needs to be, there needs to be like a function in Facebook or something like that to better share the podcasts like cleaner, because like I was going to say, does there need to be like a social media network for podcasts? Like none of the things that are out there now serve the purpose of like, you are interested in a podcast and you want to share that with your friends. How do you do that in a way that's like engaging and like, oh, I'll subscribe to that right here. One button. Not like jump into the next app and then hit subscribe and then do a thing. Like it needs to be directly integrated into Facebook or into Twitter or into these things. Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking like how can someone drive people to subscribe to their podcast and generate excitement and generate the social sharing. People love to say what podcast they listen to once you get talking about it. But how does it become as ubiquitous as like, I'm going to share the song, you can share music a little bit easier. Right. You can, I don't know. I'm just trying to think about like, how can you get cut through it,
But the usability aspect of it, that's a whole, that is a significant issue. And I think it's a more important issue, but I don't think that would have any impact at all on solving the award issue, because the reality is, until it's more about making sure that the people that are managing the awards are making the biggest effort to be aware of the 1.5 billion podcasts that are out in the world right now. And that's obviously another major hurdle that the podcasting industry has to try to, do an awards thing. Like, there's just so much content to review.
I guess it also comes back to there's no one centralized way to corral the data. So like there is no billboard. You can't like see who's getting the most action in this category. You have to scan 12 different platforms to aggregate the data and see what's going on. Like there's not, that goes back to the advertising thing too. Like there's not the one to rule them all yet.
So that's an interesting point. So with the film industry and the music industry, there are publications that kind of serve as the driving force for everything for the information to be disseminated of what's hot, what's, with podcasting, there's Podcast Magazine, but it's definitely not at the level of Variety or Billboard Magazine, and it's definitely not an industry paper either. Truth. At that level, it's more of a, and it's obviously a newer publication, and there's lots of great stuff in there, but the podcasting industry, that is part of, it's the whole curse side of the blessing of how easy it is for like the entry level of podcasting. Anybody can get in. That means that there's no centralized, body that is helping to manage even the categories. Like, Apple's dictating which categories there are, and they're different from Spotify's. They're different from,
Right.
Google. They each have their own categories. So, that there needs to be a centralized version of that. And there's a lot of people talking about even the format for RSS needs to be more there. There's some committees that are trying to set a standard for the feed and the tags in it, but until the platforms that play the stuff support it, nobody's going to actually use them. So it's if you try to manage an organization, that costs money, and you have to pay people, all that sort of stuff. So it's not an easy solution for sure.
No.
Like I feel bad because I feel like we're whining about a lot of stuff on this episode.
This is the problem that is presented. Like, Clubhouse is kind of like an interesting stepping stone, I think, because like it's in a wildly popular audio first social media platform. If you removed the live component to it, and you had it be pre-recorded, serialized, like if you kind of took the dynamics of it where you have friends and you're sharing into it, and you can reach out to someone, you can chat. Like, if you brought some of that functionality, even if Apple did that to podcast, or Spotify did that, like you had some of that, you need the community aspect. You need to be able to not have to step outside the platform to, hey, come listen to my podcast. Like, come, I think you're into this because you like these 12 other things. Let me hit you. Let me play an ad. Let me do any of the, let me hit you organically, or let me reach out to you spending a little bit of money to people that also like podcasts about dog sounds in 19 whatever, like that would be really cool. That would be it. And then you can then you become the feed, right? You just tie in you just link your Apple, your Spotify or whatever, and it's the aggregator, and you can share across all these platforms. They all get their listens, like should tie it back and forth,
Yeah, there needs to be like some real ass data, right? Because what I'm hearing from all of this is just a ton of opportunity for the people who are in positions of authority and power and wealth to stay in those positions by, massaging the numbers so that it makes sense, right? Or so it's like, going back to the contest thing where it's like, okay, well, we had an open submission. Well, how did you market that? Did you just tell your Facebook audience? Did you submit that notification to every single podcast publication? Like, how did you alert people, that this was an option for them to submit, and yeah, I mean, everything is data. Like, why can't it boil down to like, this is how many total downloads this podcast has, and this is how many total streams it has, and this is who funds the damn thing. And so if you're funded by NPR, then you can't win an independent podcasting award thing. So you could have a category. You could have like the major players. You could have independent shops. You could have true crime. You could really break it down. But I feel like it shouldn't be based on opinion at all. It should be based on numbers. Because if not, that's just how people in positions of authority and influence stay in those positions, because they're like, oh, well, we won this Ambie Award 4 years in a row. And half the industry is like, what the fuck is an Ambie Award?
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of it.
Yep.
I never heard of it until I was reading that article. And I was like, yeah, fuck the Ambie Awards. Just kidding. But like, I never heard of it. I didn't know what it was, right? And I produce podcasts, been producing podcasts for 5 years. I don't know what that is because I'm working. You know what I mean? And I'm not looking for ways to like pat myself on the back, right? So,
and we're not in that circle of those cool kids that are all driving the whole thing,
Right. So it's like it boils down to access. And then like, is everybody getting invitations? Because like, how do you know that your podcast, like, you know what I mean? Especially in like the Black community, like, are those podcasters being served? Like,
the Asian,
I don't know, man. It feels like it's all data. It should just all be data.
Daniel J. Lewis needs to start one because he's the king of the data stuff. Like, he's got all the numbers. He just start his own awards. So
right, yeah.
Can you hear me, Daniel? Are you listening?
If you're listening, thank you. First of all,
Now, Daniel, check out his stuff. We need to put links to his stuff in the show notes too, because he does crawl as much as he can, the open information that's out there, and then he creates these massive databases of comparisons year to year, the categories, how many podcasts are active, all that stuff. But he doesn't have access to stuff like who's listening to the most of one thing. That only Apple has access to that. Who actually listens to a complete episode?
Apple.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. It definitely, it spells out a lot of issues, and not just with the awards, but just in podcasting in general, right? With these billion-dollar evaluations, feels a little bit like WeWork to me, when WeWork was like, we're worth more than Google. And I'm like, really? Cool story, bro. How many satellites do you have? Like, what are you talking about? You have a bunch of financial obligations on leases across the world. Like, and you think you have more value than Google? Like, I still can't get over that one, right? But like, people co-signed it. SoftBank gave them millions and millions of dollars because of it, and so, right. It's like bigger picture, like who's creating these numbers? I mean, with Heartcast Media, when I formed the company, I was like, well, I need some seed money. I need some bridge capital to get me, through this hurdle. And so I valuated the company at $500,000 based on what numbers I knew we could do in my intellectual property and the value of my relationships. And I sold it to investors, but nobody was like, hey, can I get a breakdown of that? Like, not one single, mostly because I approach my friends and people who care about me.
They trust you.
And they trust me, but like no one questioned it, right? And I'm like, oh shit, I should have said it was worth $2 million. Would have been. But it just kind of it's just like, oh wait, is that how they're winning these games? Is that how the the 1% stays the 1% is by coming up these And so we just have to be careful in the podcast industry that the same thing won't happen there. Like valuating companies and numbers and whatever. It's a slippery slope. And if we're talking about $1 billion industry, like there better be some oversight on that pretty quickly, or we already know what's going to happen and who's going to get left behind, right? It's the same people that always get left behind. And I feel like the Ambi Awards were a pretty good visual representation of that.
Yeah. I feel like there were at least a few people involved in that really did want to make it more universal and open for everybody, but it just got, like everything else in this capitalistic world that we live in, and got taken over by the greedy people that were trying to build their own empires. And that it makes me think about even just me as a podcaster. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Right. Why would it matter if I got an Ambi or not?
Right. What does that mean?
Would it be just an ego thing? Yeah. But ultimately, it would help boost my business for sure, because I could say award winner, Marcus DePaula, whatever. But would it affect my desire to produce the types of podcasts I'm working on? It might give me a little bit more opportunity. That's the ideal scenario. But ultimately, I'm not doing what I do to get recognized publicly or to get some kind of trophy to put on my shelf behind me. I'm doing what I'm doing because I love what I do, but more importantly, I love being able to help people tell their stories and share their insight through audio, and to do it in the best way possible. So if we can have some kind of awards that acknowledges things at that level and starts with and is motivated and driven by the content as opposed to the stats or the and that's the trick of it. It's the stats are like a straightforward thing, but anyway, it's a really complicated issue, and there's definitely no easy solution.
It is. Well, I think this is a good conversation to have about it. I mean, quite often it's we see the flaws in things when other people do them, and then it's easier to from the sidelines see those things, right? Like one of my clients, Monique Maley, she says you can't read the label from inside the jar.
Yes.
And so I don't think it's all nefarious per se, maybe just a little clouded,
Yeah.
And yeah, it would be cool if like the Black Podcasters Network or whatever, like, did they get any shine? Like, they probably have the largest collection of like Black content in the podcast industry, which is a big deal, So Yeah, well, we'll have to revisit that and look at some of those things. But I mean, shout out, because I'm sure it's like anything, even like the WeDC people. Like, I have a bunch of friends that work for them. Like, they're good people. They're not like all like Dr. Evil, like, how can we ruin people
Right.
today, brain, but like, but you still have to acknowledge, like, well, you kind of missed the boat on that one, my dude,
Yeah.
but there's a middle ground there, right? So I certainly don't think everybody at the Ambie Awards is ill-intended by any means, but I thought that write-up from the guy, I'll have to find the link, we'll put it in the show notes. I thought it was really well worded, because he'd been a big fan of them and still is, but kind of just pointed out some of the issues and was very transparent about that, and so I appreciated that. But I mean, at the end of the day, right, we got to be the change that we seek in the world. So actually, we should reach out to some of those Ambie Award winners, or maybe some of the Ambie Award non-winners, and show them a little bit of love, right? And see what's going on in their world. In fact, I should totally hit up the Black Podcast Collective group and see what's up with them, and see if they want to come on the show and talk about the work they're doing.
That'd be
that would be a
awesome.
really good idea, actually. So, word. Well, I think this is a cool conversation to have. I think that just being aware of these things is really helpful, right? So, especially as white people with privilege in this world, especially you two bastards. I'm just kidding. Never miss an opportunity. But no, I mean, it's important to like recognize things, right? And talk about it.
Yeah.
And not just bury our heads in the sand. So.
And try to find solutions. That's Adam, like where you're going with that is definitely, instead of just complaining about it, we got to try to do what we can and try to figure things out.
It just shows that we're in the beginning of it all. It's still the dust still settling. There's still opportunity out there. It's not all done yet.
Yeah. And
Thank God.
the only way we can figure it out is if we talk about it.
Amen.
So
Indeed.
that's why we're doing this show.
You got to
right?
get it wrong to get it right, or something like that.
Something
right.
like that.
Something
That's right.
along those
I'll write
lines.
that one down.
Indeed. Well, guys, it's always a pleasure hanging out with you, and I'm excited to go. I'm gonna hit you up, Adam, to buy one of these Rode. What are they called?
Wireless Go 2.
Wireless Go 2. So I am about that life.
Not the one.
Available at podcastoutfitters.com.
By the way, Adam, new site looking super fresh and clean.
Freshened up.
Yeah, and you put together those kits for the
Clubhouse audio kits.
Clubhouse.
Fired
yes.
up. Ready to go. Locked and loaded.
Awesome.
We're gonna get some sales on those. I had a dream last night that I decided to go all in on Clubhouse.
I think it's,
Dreamed about Clubhouse.
you'd kill it on there.
And I remembered that like an hour ago, and I was like, "What?
It's time. It's time. We got to schedule our live podcast, Clubhouse.
Yeah.
We got to do it.
No, for sure, we really do. So maybe next week we'll get on that. I'm getting ready to move again, so
Oh man.
that's annoying. But it'll be a better thing. I am not doing so great in this here house, but it shouldn't interrupt our recording schedule at all. So I'm looking forward to moving into the new spot and settling in there with a cool new background. And I'm down to start doing a lot more clubhousing and all of those things. So
Cool.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, guys, have a good night. Marcus, I hope you continue to feel better.
Thank you.
And Adam, thanks for bringing the heat per usual.
It's always great seeing you guys.
Catch you next time.
That's right. And if you found this content valuable, please share it on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, however you want to share it. All 17 of you are amazing people, but we want to spread our wings just a little bit more. And actually, I just hired a new social media person, and so that will probably help because
About to blow up.
we're not doing a very good job of marketing this podcast. So hopefully we can all fix that. 2020, here we come. I mean, 2021. That might be part of my
wife's
problem.
going to help me, so.
On that note, this is Podcast Club out, and we will catch you on the next one.